Hey, and we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake, and today we're doing one of those rare look backs at a game we already covered. Today, it's Star Wars Outlaws. We gave this a quick look just to see what's up, because it originally released August 30th of 2024, so it's been about a year, and Ubisoft has been surprisingly upfront and candid with just how much they went back to the drawing board and fixed and tweaked and updated some significant issues and problems with the game. Now, does it necessarily save Star Wars Outlaws? Does it make Star Wars Outlaws a significantly better game? Well, let's talk a little bit more about what they did. So if you missed the original Before You Buy I did back in August of 2024, if you missed that, statistically, there's a good chance you did because a lot of you guys aren't subscribed, so maybe consider doing that, clicking that subscribe button. But either way, if you didn't catch that, the long story short is, I thought Star Wars Outlaws was okay. It was fine, decent, not great. It was unremarkable in a lot of areas of stealth and third-person shooting and just general, what you'd expect from a Ubisoft open world game, busy work. But where it succeeded was Star Wars world building and immersion. Massive, the developers, I still say to this day, can build just the hell of a good world. And the worlds in this Star Wars are great. They understand the vibe, the music, the details, the NPCs, the droids, the aliens walking around. That's where the game really succeeded. Where it fell short for me was very simplistic and repetitive stealth and just kind of whatever third-person shooting. Along with that, some technical issues and stuff that held it back. Ultimately, I think I left that video off saying, hey, maybe check out Star Wars Outlaws eventually if you're a big Star Wars fan. And I gave it basically the wait for sale type thing. And now at this point, it's been on sale many times. But like I said, Ubisoft in shareholder meetings and public statements has been pretty upfront about overhauling the game to improve sales. And they did that. They stuck to their guns, and now a year later, there's a ton of improvements, a bunch of patches, fixes, updates, tweaks, as well as 2 whole chunks of DLC if you want to buy into those. But I will say, ultimately, it's still Star Wars Outlaws. It's still pretty okay. It's nothing insane. And I love Star Wars, so I'm usually an easy mark for this. And a lot of this stuff I do really enjoy. But the moment-to-moment stuff you're doing, still, to me, I find a little dull. But it is better. I will give credit where credit is due. One of the biggest complaints when the game originally launched was that KVS would pick up weapons in the environment, right? An enemy would drop a blaster rifle, a long-range rifle, something like that, and you could pick it up and start blasting away. But the main core combat was focused around her multi-purpose blaster. And because of that, the game tried to keep things simple, meaning these guns that you would pick up were really expendable. She would drop them as soon as they were out of ammo. Anytime she climbed or went up a ladder, she would drop them. Now that has been completely fixed. You're allowed to keep these guns. You don't drop them when you go on a ladder. Along with that, they can be holstered as well. So you can take some of these guns with you. And I actually think this is it sounds silly, but I think this is the best improvement, really, because I said it in my original video, some of the bigger guns you pick up are incredibly awesome. Just the feedback, the on-screen effects, the way firing these guns feels, the power fantasy you get was awesome. And the game just kept trying to hide away, try to run away from those cool guns. Now you have these guns at your disposal way more. I found myself way more apt to pick up these weapons and just get blasted. And I think it genuinely makes the third-person shooting a bit more fun. Along with that, a lot of little tweaks to movement, firing from cover, just genuine little tweaks to how it feels, just makes it better. Does it make it feel like a completely different game? I don't want to get it to it it does not at all, but it is improved. Along with that, on the speeder, things are just a little more zippy, a little bit more responsive. The camera moves quicker, but also they changed how shooting and combat works. So you used to kind of just fly around and dodge enemies until your adrenaline built up, and then you could do a dead-eye quick shot on these enemies. Now you can freely blast from your bike. Think of other open world games when you're riding in a car or a motorcycle where you can fire your gun in 360 directions. Now you have that in this game. On console, it's a little unwieldy still control-wise, but I think if you're playing on PC, it's a little better. Also, in terms of immediately noticeable things, like, again, like there are long lists of patches and fixes that tweak little things, add little things here and there with like shopkeepers and layout and stuff like that. But one of the most immediately noticeable things was also the stealth, the insta-fail stealth missions that a lot of people had issues with in the original game. I get it can be frustrating. I am a stealth gamer, so I didn't really mind. But generally in this day and age, I think instant fail stealth missions can be frustrating and are kind of a no-no. Like, I think this far into like the world of video games, player freedom is important, and now Star Wars Outlaws leans into that. There's like a lot less instant fail stealth, and there's flexibility. You know, you get spotted, things escalate into a big shootout more often. I very clearly, right from the start, I loaded up an old save in the middle of the game, and I also started a new game, so I got to see different points. And it's very clear missions that were initially instant fail now aren't. You're able to escalate, punch a dude in the face, fire away, and I think that works. Generally, do a lot of these things make the game a little easier? Yeah, I think so. Star Wars Outlaws was never like the most challenging game by any means, but now because of like the flexibility with stealth and getting spotted and shooting and, you know, improved controls and being able to carry around more badass guns, it does feel like a significantly easier game. But all those little things, no instant fail stealth, carrying weapons around, just little improvements to the controls, navigation, how she climbs up ladders, just makes it a smoother game that's just a little bit more flexible and a little bit more fun. It's just quality of life improvements more than anything. Along with that, from a technical standpoint, I didn't think Outlaws was Ubisoft's roughest release, but it definitely had some issues here and there. Some time of day lighting and some of the open world stuff looked a little weird. A lot of clipping and cutscenes, pop-in and flickering when you're cruising around on your scooter. And I did generally notice less of that. I also went back and watched some old footage, and I did realize that there is a bit of an improvement here. Also, playing on PlayStation 5 Pro here, where this footage is captured, the game does perform pretty well now. On console, it left a lot to be desired, but now it seems like it's much smoother, much more figured out. And also, I had some crashes back in the day, didn't have any crashes now.
Look, it's that old ship. New plan, Nix. We're gonna steal it and fly out of here. Yeah, sounds risky to me too. Focus, concentrate.
Overall, it's got a bit less jank. When you crash on your speeder now, it's a little bit more believable. Fumbling around, climbing, falling in the environment feels a little better. Overall, like, I think these improvements, these things I'm mentioning, isn't necessarily like you should now finally go out and give the game a try. I'd say maybe if you bought it or you played it and you kind of fell off and lost interest halfway through, I'd say there's enough little tweaks here and there to maybe inch you towards considering finishing the game. If you didn't like Star Wars Outlaws from the jump, or if you didn't even buy it, you just saw the trailers and you didn't like it, there's no convincing you still. But I think for some of the people that played it, took genuine issue with some things, yeah, Ubisoft did actually try and fix those things to the point where even like it's fundamentally changing how they design the game, like I said at the start with the instant fail stealth missions. Plus you have the two kind of story-based DLCs. You have Wildcard, which features the GOAT, I would say, Lando Calrissian. Also, A Pirate's Fortune more recently, which has Hondo Ohnaka, which is just kind of like a Star Wars guy. If you're into Star Wars and, you know, you've been following some of the new stuff and some of the theme park stuff, like, he's a dude. So overall, it's a little better, but I still ultimately feel the same. It's an okay Star Wars game. I think it's fun to run around, shoot stormtroopers, sneak around all these different little factions. The faction system still, I think, is pretty interesting, but you're in these really detailed worlds. Riding around on your scooter is cool. Doing some heists is cool, but I didn't really connect with much of the story or characters. The main character, Kay Vess, is someone who just fell a little flat. also there are some good supporting characters, and there are a few moments here and there, but ultimately it wasn't really enough to hook me. What did hook me was, again, like I said, wandering around Tatooine and stuff. Now it just looks a little better, plays a little better. I don't think Outlaws was like the disaster some people were hoping it to be, but just kind of another Ubisoft game. To be totally honest, when we started making this video, I thought there'd be a little bit more to talk about in terms of these improvements, because this was kind of like a long tail, but ultimately, it's pretty straightforward. Personally, there's a side of me that I'm still actually a little pissed because like I bought the game and then the game like wasn't really finished. The fact that they went back and they changed all this stuff and updated this stuff, like I wish they figured that out in the first place. Like instant fail stealth missions and not carrying around a gun that you picked up, like that's stuff that I think should have like been picked up way earlier on in the development process. It was just a weird way to approach the game. So like, I don't want them to do stuff like this. I don't want to encourage them, and I don't want to like reward them for things that I think should have really been there in the first place. But again, a little better. So I got kind of sidetracked. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you were playing Star Wars Outlaws and you jump back in, hit me up. If you decided to wait until everything was fixed that you didn't like, and now you bought it, I want to know what you're thinking in 2025. Either way, let's talk about Star Wars Outlaws. I love Star Wars. I don't talk about it online too much, but I also really love Star Wars video games, and I think they've been doing great recently. I think Outlaws is the only one that's a little bit of like, you know, the middle of the road one. But let's talk anything Star Wars games down in the comments. Hit us up. If you like talking video games with us every single day, clicking the like button's all you got to do. It helps us out. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
More of those bandits? Oh, come on! You alive back there, buddy? I know. What are we doing?
Keep it going! Know what they're dealing with! Your credits left! Down!
You there? The bombs are working?
Yeah, hey, these bandits are still after me.
Persistent. Get to Miragana. That's Pike Turf.